Baseball at De La Salle. He was a team captain at Loyola, as JT mentioned. He's been at WDSU-TV since 2002 and has served as sports director for several years and hosts many outstanding special shows as well, including one last night. The game wasn't too special, though. I'm sure he'll talk about that. He maintains a regular blog, Offsides with Fletcher Mackel. He's won numerous awards for Best Sportscast from the Press Club of New Orleans and the Louisiana Associated Press. The Saints play at San Diego this Sunday at 3:25 p.m. Please give a warm Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation Quarterback Club welcome to Fletcher Mackel of WDSU-TV. Fletcher.
Thanks for having me. Excellent job, Brian. Like a PR person. I know you're a football coach, but that's a tough act to come in and after the week that you all have had. So excellent work. Yes, last night we had a post-game show. I don't know if any of you were watching WDSU last night. And Jim Mora is with us now. And Jim Mora had a very Jim Mora moment last night. You can find it on YouTube now or on Twitter or on Facebook. I started off, I went to Swobodaville, if you will, if you can go find that old clip, because Swoboda used to have several battles with Coach Mora. And since 2002, we saw a stat, 69 teams have started out 0-3 in the NFL and none have made the playoffs. So I decided to ask Coach Mora, for all practical purposes, is the season over when it comes to the playoffs for the Saints? Which 30 seconds into our post-game show sent him into pounding the desk, yelling and screaming at me, which made for tremendous TV, but I think I have to go to the doctor to have my right ear checked because the screaming at me went on for about 5 minutes. But no, obviously the Saints being 0-3 is not a good situation. But if I can go back 1 second, I'm sorry, I talk a lot, and I know we're wrapping up, so I'll be even quicker. But JT Hannon, I think he's going to come in a few weeks and speak about the golf course at City Park, which they are doing great things for, a tremendous endeavor. And JT and I could also, if you want to talk afterwards, we could talk about the debate last night, because after the Falcons hung up 28 points on the Saints, I even wanted to try to find the presidential debate last night on Twitter and see what was going on, because the game was no fun to watch. And JT is an old friend, and I guess you could say, showing that people that are old friends can still have different views and have healthy debates. I am the 40-year-old that tries hipster haircuts and wears fitted suits. JT is the 40-year-old with his perfect khakis and blue blazer, so that could probably tell you where we lean politically. 39. 40-ish, I said. And I see Coach Dave Morrow there. I played for his father, Don Morrow. And a quick story, the great people that own this facility are the Hugheses. And Brian Hughes played at Jesuit and was one of my roommates in college when he was at Tulane. And I actually started my college career playing for Joe Sherman at Delgado, who's a great guy. And, you know, I still think, you know, helped me become the man I am today, because I went there when I was 17 years old, and it was eye-opening being around Joe Sherman, just a great guy, and a true New Orleans character. But Dave, I remember these stories from like Brian Hughes and Joey Cavaceres and all these guys. And Dave, I know, which I have tremendous respect for because your teams were always so amazing, you know, such discipline and so well coached. But I remember the stories of the buckets in the gymnasium and throwing up and the hard practices and everything like that, which I love. But your father was definitely a player's coach, let's just say that. Because I went to Loyola and thought, wow, you know, Dave Morrow's dad, he's going to be, you know, a real disciplinarian. But let's just say he was like the nicest, most mild-mannered man you'd ever been around. I'd ever been around. And so I always thought that was interesting to see such polar opposites in father and son from a head coaching standpoint. I don't know how you feel about that, but that was my, that was my perception of it. From this Dave Morrow disciplinarian to Don Morrow, kind of the easygoing, and so he was a great guy. But back to the Saints, and I'll wrap up quickly after that. Obviously Sean Payton said it was going to be critical to get off to a fast start, and obviously they have not gotten off to a fast start. I jokingly said, and I hope you don't mind if I make jokes, that it's September and sadly football season is over in Louisiana because the LSU Tigers are not going to win a national championship and the Saints are not going to win a Super Bowl. One can't play offense, one can't play defense. You know, this is kind of, a tough time for sports fans here that, all live and die with football and are all fluent in a language called hut-hut. And I am excited about Tulane. You know, I know that was a big win against UL, some hard-fought losses. I'm a big fan of Willie Fritz. I didn't think Tulane would be capable of getting Coach Fritz. I thought one more year at Georgia Southern and he's going to a Power 5, kind of like, you know, Dino Babers at Bowling Green last year. So I am encouraged about Tulane and the future of Tulane. But as far as the Saints go, I mean, I think you look at, you know, Jim Moore said this last night on our show. He goes, you know, they've had 5 defensive coordinators, and Jim Moore goes, I'm a guy who defends coaches. So he goes, at some point, it's time to stop firing defensive coordinators, and it's time to just say that they're not doing the right things from a managerial standpoint of bringing in the right players and having the right talent. You know, he always says that as a coach, I got too much credit for the Dome Patrol and the guys that I coached because they were excellent players. And he goes, right now I think that these defensive coordinators that they've gone through with the Saints get too much blame for the faults of the defense. He goes, at some point they have to do a better job of finding talent, and I do think that that is abundantly clear at this point. They have another tough challenge. Phillip Rivers is a good quarterback, and this defense is so depleted, it's conceivable that the Saints could be 0-4 heading into their bye weekend, which is, you know, unfathomable, but such is life right now. Maybe next year. I know that was always the Saints slogan for so long, just wait till next year. Well, just wait till next year. Maybe Drew Brees in the final year of his contract, and, you know, some potential free agents that they, you know, could sign could help out this team, but I am not overly optimistic about the Saints. I am excited to see what Ed Orgeron does, because I know at USC, when he took over, he went 6-2. I do like Coach O. You know, he's another one of those great Louisiana characters. You know, all the national people, when they hear him talk, say, does he really sound like that? And it's like, yes, he really sounds like that. And I know he'll be a candidate for the job, but other than that, I think that it's fun to listen and have opinions on who the potential LSU coach could be. There is one thing that makes me pound my head on my desk at work, though, is when I have to look at social media or listen to radio shows and hear people say things like John Gruden or all these unrealistic, foolish names that could potentially come to LSU. Because I know every fan loves their school and everybody's excited about big name coaches, but God, some of that stuff you hear and you just think, why do these people believe that? I do think there are great coaches out there, but I don't think John Gruden will ever come coach the LSU Tigers. So anybody who believes that, I don't know if there's anybody in this room, but I think that would be, you know, a foolish path to go down if that is your school of thought. And I'll quickly touch on the Pelicans, because I'm a huge basketball fan. I've said this before here and I'll say it again. You know, some people find God. In 2002, I was the kid that found the NBA. So I love the Pelicans, and I love basketball and covering the NBA. And I do think they have good people. Alvin Gentry's a good man, and I would love to see him win, because they always say that nice guys finish last. But I think if Dell Demps and Alvin Gentry could produce any kind of winner, it may show that nice guys can finish first, because they both are very good men. And Anthony Davis is a great superstar. And I don't necessarily think, you know, they're going to have a great team this year, but I certainly think if they can stay in the playoff mix until the end of the season and maybe sneak in, that would be a step back in the right direction. In future years, they could have something special here. So I hope the Pelicans do well, because, again, right now, you know, I don't even like looking that way when I say this, football has kind of let us down for the first month of the season. So maybe basketball will pick our spirits up a little bit. And I think I've rambled long enough, because I know this is supposed to end around 1 o'clock, and I think that's where we are. So thank you for having me.